Hello everybody, welcome to the Dassault Systèmes live stream. Today we're going to talk about the cloud, we're going to talk about 3D experience, we're going to talk about design. My name is Jan Malborg, I'm going to be your host for the next 60 minutes. Together with me we have two guests. We have Anna Asensio and Peter Hawkins. Anna Asensio, you came to me a couple of months ago in Sweden to receive your honorary doctor of the Umeå University. And this is where we got to know a little bit more about the work that you do in the design studio. You have a long experience, and you can do a little bit of a rundown on that in a few minutes. Peter Hawkins, you came into the team around a year ago, something like that.
Oh, 6 months.
6 months only, while time flies. And you're a Catia specialist, and you're going to talk to us about design and how you use Catia and so forth. And also a little bit your history as well, I think.
Share some good stories and some tips and things, I think. Yeah, sure.
Looking forward to that. We broadcasted around 30 countries live, so good morning for those, good afternoon for a few. So Anne,
yes.
the design studio is your creation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the work that you do?
Well, maybe we need to go back to my experience.
Yes.
I basically spent 30 years in the car industry as a designer and covering many different functions. And what is really clear to me, it's when I decided to join Dassault Systèmes, is I already have seen a huge transformation in the design world, in the practice, in also the purpose.
In that time frame. Yes.
At that time frame, and actually, I would say around the 2008, 2010, things get really big. And what I would like to share with you as an introduction of this great demonstration about the 3D experience platform on the cloud is how, when we see that transformation in practice, is making sense for us to share to this audience, what may be those changes and what do we do at Dassault Systèmes to actually address the ability for designers to empower designers, engineers, innovators to actually transform the way they do design.
Okay. All right. So basically the work that you do every day is to push the boundaries of what's possible.
Yes, so we created the design studio as a very free space, an innovation space where we are basically making a convergence of all of those practices of design that we know are coming from our customers, but also from what we know from research or just basically by what we entertain by ourselves in doing design, and the technologies. Everything that Dassault Systèmes is providing to, again, our customers, but sometimes also things that we can and may use for the first time. So this is a way to amplify the design process and practice. So the design studio is really a nice place where we make the convergence of knowledge and know-how about design practice. And today is going to be a great opportunity for you to see it live.
Yes.
With two people from the studio that will be joining us, that works with me, the Sebastian that will be taking the voice later, and also Jonathan Monfroy, that is a designer in the studio. So that will be a perfect moment for getting this moment live.
Okay, great. And you also brought some material for us. You're going to talk about a few trends.
But before, let's meet our friend Sebastian in the design studio.
All right.
Sebastian, are you with us?
Yes, I am there. Yeah. Hi,
Here
everybody.
So Sebastian.
Hello, Sebastian.
So Sebastian is in the design studio in Vélizy. Here we are in Paris in the brainstorming studio. So it's very nice. Now it's time for getting and starting with design, right?
Let's do that.
Okay, I may introduce this session with design trends, and I basically have summarized them with basically 6 words. Those words are quite simple, but I would like to develop them in a couple minutes. I'm talking about complexity, sustainability, ubiquity, generosity, and the most important one, inclusivity. We're going to get back to that. Yes. So let me cover those. To start with complexity, as I described it earlier, design have changed dramatically, but not just design. The world have changed. Everything we do are getting more and more complex. We are basically in the beginning of a huge transformation in the way we live, in the way we basically play and interact with the environment, our world. Typically, we used to design product. Today, we design experiences. What it means like a lot of system and technology embedded into very simple product that we used to design very simplistically before. So this big trend is also getting into the object of design. We are not designing product anymore. We may design cities. We may design a station in a special universe. And all of these are just driving a completely shift in a way we have to design. This aspect also is toward the methodology of design to be enabled with the capability to actually see broader picture, holistic and systemic picture. So we may leverage a system design and design methodology for experience design. Those convergence, they used to be done in silos. And it's time now to get those expertise and knowledge to converge into one single place. So that's what I like call this very important trends. Sustainability, because we are not converging for just doing business as usual, as we used to do. The search for progress. We are getting to a moment, it's a very unique moment in a human life, where we have to design for sustainability. We have to design with impact to the society. So this is also something that is nice to say, very difficult to do, because it is going beyond the execution of a beautiful part to a beautiful object, a beautiful car that I used to design. But it's about getting it into a broader picture of sustainability. That means the product lifecycle management, typically with the example of how do you engage in the full holistic experience of the product from the sourcing all the way to the destruction. This cannot be done with the design process and design practice today. We need to be supported with other capabilities. Okay. Second, the shift also have to be done without to lose what design make its life. It's about gaining people to change their behavior. If you want people to change behavior about sustainability, you need to get them attracted by beautiful, aesthetic, emotional experiences.
And design will help people change their behaviors and...
Well, you have to, if before we were seducing for the act of acting or buying, we need to get people motivated to change the world, feeling good about what they do. Making life better, like let's say a city place. If you take the car parking away and you transform that as nice place for children to play, a nice shop, a nice bank where you can rest and talk, and nice lighting, well, it changed completely the way you live the city, right? This is what design is all about when you apply to territories. That's an example. So this is just Kengo Kuma, a beautiful piece for trying to capture CO2. Does it look like a tower to capture CO2? No, it's a beautiful piece of art, yet it does the job. So this is really also what sustainability aim should be just all about when it comes to design. How you converge basically all the capacity. It gets to the third big trend, that is ubiquity. If you want to do that, you want to be able to work with expertise, with knowledge, with teams that may be placed globally around the world, even if you are here in a local studio. And so you want to do it anytime, anywhere. So this ubiquity in time and space when you do design is also something that have changed. Design studio, car design studios that are being placed in different places, they have to work together as they are in the same place. So being in a platform on the cloud, connected anytime in the day, in the night, it's very important.
So technology really helps to drive as well.
And that's why this platform is so important. And on the top of it is, if you start a project, you want to be able to call anyone that could help you in this project. Yes. You want to be pulling on expertise as you go. So this is not just you have a process, linear process, this is what you do, then what you do, and then you pull the ball, from one place to another. No, everybody all together have to think about what would be a great, sustainable, complex project to serve the world. So the fourth is just getting into what I think is the only way, is how do you bridge design and science? How do you get science accessible to designer? The 3D Experience platform at Dassault Systèmes is basically a place where a designer may be in contact with a an aerodynamic engineer or electrical engineer or a scientist that may design the material at the level of nanoscale. So, well, does a designer will design material? No. Does a scientist will do design application of his material? No, but both together may change the world. So this is very important. We consider design to be enhanced by technology and scientific capacity. Another scientific technology or capacity is data-driven design. Data, information, and people together can basically change the way we design. And actually genericity, I mean the capacity to do generic and generative design, we're going to see it in the demo today, is a completely new shift also to consider design. The material is moved to something more virtual. We may consider data as a material to design. And the last trend is the inclusivity. And this is very important. If you have a space, a design space for collaboration, for making the convergence of scientists and designers and engineers and researchers, and also public services, maybe citizen, it has to be an inclusive place. Something accessible, something you get access easily, something that where the step to get in is a very small step. And then you grow with the community of the 3D Experience platform. So this level of inclusivity is absolutely the key for getting in the hand of young generation, of the workforce of the future. Everyone who has an entrepreneurship spirit, the ability to actually design. So this is really the final one, the final trend that I see, clearly, inclusivity. And it goes very far because we may consider that we were expert, both of us, Peter, designing as designer in companies, in a design studio. We just hope everybody may become a designer in the future with the ability to actually have a platform for design.
That sounds like wonderful perspectives. So I wanted to ask a few questions before we go over to Peter and look a little bit and dive into the 3D Experience platform. It's actually two questions. The first one, we talked a little bit about creativity and that is shifting a lot from how it was before, and now we're moving towards creativity. The platform 3D Experience and can help you do that in some ways and foster creativity in some ways.
This is a very particular question. The creativity, I think, is inner. It's something you have in yourself. As an artist,
Yes.
you reflect on yourself and then you project the idea. What the platform is really good at is enhance the creativity. You first have to grow on yourself, but what it does, it gives you means. It gives you the ability to augment your capacity to actually make your creativity happen.
Unleash it, basically.
You unleash your creativity, but you also have something that goes beyond. It's yes, you can reflect on what others does. You can learn other practices. You can work in collaboration with scientists. That's the future. Designers and scientists together may resolve a lot of issues and challenges of complexity that we are seeing. But the most important thing is this ability to think that you have one place where actually you can make things happen. Yes. You can have an impact. So it's not about doing a beautiful design that go on shelves and people can buy. It's a great thing, but this is the 20th century. The 21st century is anything we do will have a great impact in our life and the way we live.
So if
and the world we live in.
And the world we live in. So if I understand you right, and of the five, I would say, major trends, you'd say ubiquity and inclusivity are the most important ones in your view?
I think if you are currently a designer and you want to basically see the great value of the platform right away, is enhancing your collaboration. Yes. You start a design project, you alone, you are a start-upper, or you are in the design department and you are looking at means that are very, very fresh, new, and original, like typically our generative design solutions. Well, you want to be helped. You want to have someone or a place where you gather this information, tutorial, expertise. So definitely Ubiquity, having this place where you think and the place where you do things as one, It's very important. But the inclusivity may be the second most important one, because this is not easy to have people to work together when they all speak a different language. How do you manage a space where everybody feel home and everybody feel empowered? It's a very high level. How do you get to design with citizens? That's very important to design cities in the futures. How do you engage stakeholders that are not used to be designers or engineers? Yes. It's a political issue, but it's, to me, where design is going, and the 3D Experience platform on the cloud is probably one of the greatest enablers to do it.
That's a perfect transition. Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. Ubiquity and inclusivity, Peter. That sounds very much to me like something we can deliver with the 3D Experience platform.
Oh, definitely, yes. Yeah, for sure.
So what can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience, your history? I know we got you at Dassault Systèmes for a reason. And you're going to dive with us a little bit into 3D Experience platform together with Sebastian online from the design studio in Vélizy. So tell us a little bit.
Okay, so what I'll do first is do a real quick introduction. So when I started using Catia, it was quite a long time ago. Probably about 18 years worth of experience, starting off in V5. And then I guess some of my memorable years working for a mobile phone company, working with a design team, so working with designers like Anne and her team here in the studio. In
Designing phones.
Designing phones, yeah. And when I went in there, we were basically tasked at building geometry to share globally around the world. So we did it in the V5 using the tools that were available then. And as time progressed, I could see straight away from the very beginning of when I went there, I didn't really know how to model a phone. For me, it was, do I just sketch a rectangle, put some radiuses on it, put some dimensions, extrude it, or do something, which I was really wrong way back then. But that's the way you take it from if you like, a traditional way of working. So what I want to show you today, or at least show you, is where my journey started when we started working in the design studio, and also how I managed to get designers to come across to do what we do in Catia, because traditionally it hasn't been a tool for designers, because designers are very creative. I always say they're special people, and I mean that in the right way, in that you can let a designer go off and do something and they'll work all night, and the next day they turn up with something and you go, that is cool. And I think from what you're going to see today, what Sebastian and John have done in the studio in Dassault, you're going to see something that's quite a wow factor. And certainly for me, it would have taken me quite a few hours, days to create this stuff. But I think this experience by itself need to be said to this audience listening to us today, is we are blurring, those boundaries that we used to know about, who is doing what, when, and with which tools. Having you coming for doing this, exercise that was done just in few days, it's the perfect example of how basically the power of the 3D Experience platform, by providing this single place, we can transform what we do in the studio in a regular basis, where people of good volonté, we say in French, bonne volonté, may basically change by just working all together in the same environment. So I like this notion of blurring frontiers and having people learning from each other. And for me, being a mechanical background, going into a design background, I try and think creatively when I use the tools, and I think that comes from designers. So their mindset, you put it into Catia, you can do some funky stuff. And I did a couple of years on the platform as well in 3D Experience, and that's quite an important migration from V5.
Oh, so you were a user already of the platform? Yeah, on the cloud. I've done 2 years on cloud. We were in a startup mode. We needed to get users around the world collaborating together quickly and efficiently. Within a couple of hours of getting your license or your login to the platform, I could be up and running. And for me, the transition wasn't that bad going from V5 to V6. And we'll look at some of the basics when we get down and dirty with the product. So, well, it's a universal language, design is. And to be fair, in Catia doesn't have any language barriers. The way you build things, the way models are created, the way you structure it, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you all work the same way, you can all speak the same language. That's beautiful. That's the language of design, You aim to the purpose, you aim for impact, whatever is the way. Very good. If we can, Sebastian, are you online?
With us? Yeah, I'm still there, of course.
Cool.
Yeah, so the idea is to illustrate what was in fact the brief of this small project we've done for this streaming session. So 1 week ago, I've been asked by Han to create a small product which illustrates the capabilities of the 3D Experience platform for creative designers in collaboration with all the disciplines of the company. And for instance, engineers, as Peter said. So the idea of this project was to present a new way to carry the water in different situations with a sustainable approach. And
so, Sebastian, you may say to our audience, here we are on the platform, right?
Yes, we are on the platform. Yes, we have just one browser, one tab here, which combine all the environment of our project. So just for the brief, so the idea was to propose a new way to carry the water in different situations and reinvent a product such as Flask or Canteen. And with a new design approach, of course, thanks to 3D Experience platform in a collaborative way. So to do so, what we did is to create an environment thanks to the dashboard, 3D dashboard capabilities. So just create these environments with also a dedicated community. So XBack community, that's the name we gave to this project, XBack. So it's a new generation of packaging, I would say. And we create this community, XBack. And first of all, we start to share with all the different members. So it's a short team, it's a small team. Here are all the members of the teams, and of course Peter.
But the team could be anywhere in the world. That's what you're saying. So
of
it doesn't
course.
have to.
And yes, it's a good remark, because Raoul Kumbar was also one of the contributors, and he's located in India. So. Okay. And we share and we discuss with him, and we work together.
Ubiquity. Yeah. There you go.
Ubiquity, totally, yes. And first of all, as designers, we need some inspiration. We need to discuss, exchange some new asset, new insights, to nourish, to feed our mind, and in order to create and to propose new concepts. So. There are the first moments, the first discussion, and you are able to like.
So something that, if we compare to the traditional way, designers are sketching, they get inspired, everything stays on their desk. And as soon as you are basically starting to express something in a sketch or by a collage of image, a mood board, often it's hard to share that, especially where you are in different places in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
This is basically a very nice way to actually immerse and contextualize your design project very early on, by just like providing to any members of the community a complete and total level, an exhaustive level of what is being shared on this project by anyone, by any members.
It basically makes it richer, because if you have input from different locations and places, it will make the design input richer.
I forgot a word. Yeah. It's serendipity. Well, actually, design is all about this. You may have a sketch, you share the sketch instead of leaving in your desk, and what would happen immediately? It trigger ideas to someone else, and not necessarily the designer. Something I know from my experience in the car design is a sketch was basically leveraging and triggering some great ideas from other members of the team that were not necessarily a designer. An engineer may say, I just came up with this technology, you should try that. It will fit perfectly. So this is really this kind of interaction the platform may basically offer on the cloud.
Yeah. To come back on the inspiration and the different space we can create, and of course share with all the contributors of the project. We create, for instance, a dedicated tab in the 3D dashboard for the project, design trends, for instance. So you are able to assemble different type of source of feeds from different websites and track around different topics. So this one is really global, just to have the global trends around the design, and specifically for the project. So I created, for instance, a track topic thanks to NetVibes capabilities within the 3D Experience platform, design packaging, generative design, water packaging, and thanks to this NetVibes capabilities, I'm able to have directly some watch, so sort of automatic watch of the markets around this topic, around these keywords, I would say.
So this is a great capability that designers can, they can still do the work, do the search on the web. Here they get a tool, a dialogue with almost an artificial intelligence that may give them and help them to track wherever it's in the web. To me, it's the first dialogue. It's the first level of the dialogue with data.
Yeah, totally. And then, yes, we just shared this mood board around, for instance, the new way to package the water, to carry the water, such as for instance, the water bubble. So how we could supply water in desert or in different situations. So that was our initial inspiration for this project. Of course, the idea was also to explore new capabilities around the generative design. So new capabilities of the 3DEXPERIENCE platform for creative designer with generative design.
Okay.
There was something I remember when we started this, is to disconnect the container and the structure. That it's already, because of a technology may be just in the continuity of the thinking, but the thinking may be influenced by the capacity of the technology. So generative design offers the ability to separate structure and container. Yeah.
And just before to give the mic to Peter, the idea was also just to share what was the first intent, the first proposal around this project. So this idea of a new generation flask, new canteen, and that are the different sketches we've done, and the first exploration we've done also with the generative design. And also what is also interesting is just to explore with another solution called function-driven generative design, with a scenario of load, I would say, different technical constraints. What could be the results in terms of structure? So just to give you a small flavor of what will follow just after the technical brief of Peter.
But I want to go back to the question you asked me about creativity. In the past, creativity was kind of going on in your own head, with your experience, with your imprint of many experiences you have in your life. Here you have a serendipity type of environment where you have also an inspiration that is being driven by the way the technology is giving you some insight very early on when you're still trying to figure out your concept. When in the traditional way, you concept, then you design. You execute. Your 3D is just the execution of your sketch, and it's very controlled. Then suddenly you get yourself inspired by the capacity of the technology in the way you create. And this is something you accept, you don't accept. Why not play with it and decide if you like it, don't like it? Anyway, it's something we need to use.
Technology is here to help. So you started to see some design. So what happens next? Sebastian.
Yes. So what happens next? The idea was for Peter also to collaborate with Peter. So with his skills in terms of engineering and advanced surface modeling, just to create the first base of what will be the first volume, the technical volume, I would say, of this product. In fact, so Peter, what do you want to say a bit more about this first volume, technical volume?
Yeah, I think basically what we're talking about here is this is the volume of material we want to hold. So there's some typical constraints we need to work within. And what I gave to Sebastian and the design team is something that we can work with. So the actual physical volume of material. And that's pretty much what we can see there on the right-hand side, where if I was given that by one of your industrial designers to create in Catia in the traditional method, I think I would be taking quite a while to do that. So for me, I saw something like this very similar about 10 years ago in design, where one of the designers came to me and said, "Pete, can you create something like that?" And
you have to do all the surfaces
manually.
Manually.
I would have had to do it manually.
Guess what? It reminded me how I used to do grills. and you want to change just the different, and then it takes 15 days just to change the separation between the different segments because you have to resurface everything.
So this
and here you just let's move that.
Bang, yeah.
In a blink of an eye.
Okay.
So it's probably a good point to jump, Sebastian. I'll pick it up with some 3D experience on the cloud.
So you're going to show it now?
We can show some live stuff.
Wait.
Oh, it's this. Hold on tight, yeah. Okay, are we on?
Yes, you are on.
So, first thing, as Sebastian's talked quite a bit about the platform, from our perspective, or from my perspective, as a user, one of the first things I probably ought to talk about very quickly is the ability to look for your information. So, we're moving away from a file-based approach if you're running in Catia V5 and maybe other platforms or other systems. And the one thing that you'll find here is that you can physically use, typically like a Google search, for instance, to find your information just by simply typing into a menu.
Directly on the platform?
Directly on the platform, searching on the cloud. And it's fair to say that all the data is managed by the cloud, so you never see a physical file. So wherever you are in the world, you can call on your files and work on your files. So that's the first point. So if we dive into the sort of engineering side, if you like, and if I was working, I'd be working with designers on this. And what we have here is a very simple assembly, but this was the technical volume that we created here. This is the volume that's going to hold the pouches that are going to fit into it. And this is, again, at the early stages of the concept. So we're just literally sort of
this is basically
mapping things out.
Basic design, starting to...
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I'm going to sort of demonstrate to you today is like what I would call a top-down approach. So we have one master model. And it may not surprise you, but when I worked for the phone company I worked for, we modeled the whole phone in one file, in one part, because it's quite efficient. So if we drop into our master bottle assembly, what we have here, what I'd like to do is just run you through some of my concepts behind how you can be really efficient in modeling and how you can get things to update dynamically. And I guess the first thing to talk about is the fact that I like to organize my tree and name things and make it so that you can actually follow a path through the model. Many people that are watching today probably use Catia daily. You probably model some things you can't change. So my advice is keep things simple, keep it basic, and then it's very easy to change.
Okay.
So, for instance, in this case, if we want to capture important information, we can grab that information and put it as a parameter. So if we start modifying things, we can make the bottle a little bit longer, in this case, and everything seems to update as it should.
But this is live, huh?
This is live stuff, and we can dynamically drag things. So if we want to start changing the form factor or the waistline of this product, we can simply grab on it. And for those that use an older version of Catia, these are some of the things that you can see here, like a little ruler appearing, where I can physically drag and get an idea of what that size is going to be and how it's going to work for me. Another little thing I'd like to talk about, as well as the way the system works, is the way that we can interact with it, the interface. It's a lot cleaner. I find it really efficient. Okay, so we can have a number of commands on here that we can use when working with the software or trying to model. So that's parameters. The other thing I'd like to talk about as well is the way that you build your geometry, or the way you create your geometry. We like to have some sort of a start part or a foundation of where we're going to begin. And for this example, I created some core basic datums, as we call them. And for instance, if we want to change the diameter, it's possible to get hold of, for instance, in this case, the offset of this plane, and just simply start to drag the model. And if we've got some analysis going on, we can actually see things update in real time. So
wow.
that's another kind of thing that we can use in the tool. So if we drill down into some of our, again, I like to structure the way my model works so that if I come back to it in a few weeks' time, I know exactly where things are going to be. So first thing we can look at is if we just take, for instance, this main body. This is the information that I fed through to Sebastian and John to start doing that real funky stuff with the shapes and the forms.
Okay.
And I think now's quite a good time to say that that was done on basically cloud-based software. So
without to say that all of the elements that you are just designing and you have access to the surface, you always know exactly how much content it is, how weight it may be, how thick it may be. So
Sure.
it has a direct impact as new parameter for designing in generative design in a way that you can do back and forth from the traditional vision of design or execution to the new one and balance. This is quite unique to have that in a single environment.
I see. So generative design, is that what we're going to now?
Not quite yet. I'm still going to carry on with some basic Catia. And I think another thing to take away from this is that if you build things very simply, simple things will make complicated shapes. And if you can change something very quickly and easily when it's very basic, then when you've got a complex shape, that underlying foundation will work from it.
Okay.
So, for instance, in this design, because I'm working on an entire body, we've also got the cap and we've got a thread part. And again, we can use the 3DEXPERIENCE platform to just simply create engineering type features, as it were, as well as surfacing features. So if we dive into the cap a little bit, and you'll notice that I have this thing called construction. So I always keep like a geometrical set or an area where I can put all the stuff that doesn't really dynamically update. Then I can work on the things that I can change and the things that will update. And it's quite important for us to rename things. And typically I only rename the things that are really useful. So again, I can go back as a little bit of a reminder.
Okay.
And the other thing as well, you'll notice I've got some colours on the planes. I think that's quite important, is having the ability to just change the colour of something. So you can easily find it and it's very visible. And you can put dotted lines if you want to distinguish whether it's like a trim plane, for instance. So other things that we can do within the platform at the moment, if we look at this example, the way I've built this, I haven't done just a simple type revolve with a sketch. I've built it with some sort of a blend. So it means that I can really start to refine that information. And in this example, we've got some draft control. And at the moment, I've got a straight profile that's driving it. So we can obviously replace things. So we just pull that side profile and replace it with the curve profile.
Okay.
And this then starts to refine the design. And this is where we can start to drill down and really, if you like, nudge the details. And that's where we spend quite a bit of our time when we're surfacing.
Surfaces, that's your thing.
Surfaces, yeah, that's pretty much, that's where it all happens, as it were.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get on that.
So what are you showing us now? Oh yeah, going back to the...
Just, yeah, having a quick look through this, so...
So you get the different parts of the cap?
Yeah, so we've basically made it in two parts because we did do a bit of a study where we took the top half of the cap and applied the same things with the generative.
Yeah. Create some consistency between the cap and the bottle.
Another thing about 3DEXPERIENCE is quite worth looking at. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I think this is where it's very important is having in the same environment different, I will say, 3D capabilities that are basically being engaged. You engage differently. Having them in the same environment, you can also decide where is the splitting, between what is, traditionally in the concept, just the fact you do a bottle and a cup. You are basically, you are not checking the concept, but saying that the cup is the part you twist and the part that may be just designed differently. You open up to a lot of new innovation by just like getting you away from the previous concept that you are not questioning the way it's being done. You have two schools of surfacing and school of generative, and we may have some others coming. How do you manage to get them, and play with them in the same way? Or at least in the...
Takes away some of the constraints, actually.
Yes, and open up a huge opportunity for more creativity and decided to do things as serious and efficient, as well as innovative, without following any guideline that it could become a new place for experimentation and deliver completely new objects.
All right.
Well, I think one other thing to mention as well about the way that the tool works is it's quite intuitive in that if you select something, we can get toolbars now that are actually relevant to the feature you're working on. So
the variant?
So yeah, it's easy. It's quite possible to put a particular radius on an edge simply by picking on the edge. It knows what tools you want to use or what tools you can use on that feature.
Yes.
So therefore, it suggests things that you can do.
Okay, all right. It's great.
So Sebastian, are you ready to start looking at the cloud-based modeling, where we start looking at the shapes?
Yeah, totally. So let's continue the creative process. In fact, so what we've done, we discuss, we share different sketches, different proposals really quickly because the time was really short. But sort of challenge, but it was always stimulating to have this type of pressure to be creative. And what we've done is, so we continue to discuss. We on the platform, thanks to 3D communities, 3D Swim, and exchange some iteration, and then we switch to the creation. So we just iterate at the beginning with different concepts on the generative design. So let me show now what we have been able to do in a really short time period with the final concept we chose at the end of the creative process, and to modelize in 3D on cloud-based solutions called generative design. So we did a video. To do so, just by safety, but also in a way to accelerate a bit because the streaming session is not so long. But it's totally real. In 17 minutes, we were able to create a really complex shape on a cloud-based solution. What means cloud-based solution? In fact, that's the reason why we call that X. App. X is for new generation app, totally based on the web. So it means that you don't need to install it on your computer. It's totally cloud-based. So this app is totally cloud-based. So let me show you. So first connection, of course, not a big deal. Then you create at first a dashboard, so you integrate this app in a dashboard. In fact, you have also a direct access through these capabilities called 3D Space, where we will find the different models done by Peter. So we will use this first base to create the final shape. So then we provide through another tab this widget in order to share this progress with Peter. Then we open the session of generative design. We have just to drag and drop the files from Peter, and then we use this file to create the first shape in generative design. Then so less a bit of time to open the file. Here it is. So the file you've just seen before. We use this first surfaces and create we could say the first structure to create and to compute the different patterns around this shape. So we just activate the different elements, geometrical elements on the shape as references to create the different surface, complex surface. Yeah. Generative design is a node. We could say nodal programmation approach. So you just have some nodes which contains different functions, and you are able to mix it. You give some inputs, and the different outputs are linked to the different functions. So it's a sort of programmation of the shape. And you are able, for instance, to create an offset surface, to create some depth inside the shapes. That was just to respect the intent on the sketch you've just seen. Then we create another offset for the inner surface and the outer surface. what I can do is just accelerate a bit. Then we create a sampling of different points, which will be the center of the different holes, the different patterns of the we will project directly on the surface.
Okay.
Then let's create a bit. After the sampling, we use what we call the Voronoi pattern. So it's this pattern which creates sort of lattice and organic pattern, aleatory pattern all around the surface by projection. So we give different inputs. So the sampling, the point sampling, is of course an input for the Voronoi pattern modeling.
And this is all done in a web browser as well, Sebastian?
Yeah, of course. Yes, as what we
no
call
installation on the local machine or anything?
Yeah,
it's all
yeah,
good,
that's what I said previously. No installation needed on this. Yeah, and all the computation, the projection, all the operation you have already seen are directly computed from the cloud. So no need to have a specific powerful workstation, just a basic one. Maybe with a correct graphic card, it will be totally sufficient to do this type of modeling.
We're looking forward to the money shot on this one.
I can't wait for it, actually.
So let's accelerate a bit, of course.
Yes.
Not so long. So you are seeing you see all the projection of this Voronoi pattern directly on the surface from the outer surface, but also on the inner surface. So that's the interest of the projection. So let's accelerate a bit. So now you have the projection of the Voronoi pattern on the inner surface, which will contain, in fact, the water, or the new packaging for the water. If, for instance, a water bubble, several water bubble, for instance. And then create different curves with different offset of these curves to create the depth and the thickness of the surface of the product, in fact, within the different holes. So let's accelerate a bit.
We're going to have to accelerate a little bit. We've got another 10 minutes on the live stream, and we're getting a lot of questions, Sebastian and Peter.
Of course. So let's accelerate. That's the interest of the video, of course. So now just a plane surface between the outer surface and the inner surface, and now you just see what is going on around this surface. So really complex surface are really quickly created. And then,
well, I can tell you
the trimming
viewers are getting
operation.
nuts. There's a lot of questions. That's great.
So and then we have, of course, the trim operation, just to cut the different surface between the holes to obtain at the end the final shape there. So what is also interesting is to see, and what Peter said also, you are able to change, of course, the different parameters all along the process. You are able to change anything on the model. And thanks to this type of programmation, you just need to access to the parameters and change, for instance, the number of points. So you remember the center of the different holes we have done previously. You are able to change them, the number of points, from 15 to 40. And you are, you see, I'm not accelerating the video. It's really the time you need to compute via the cloud, and to 40 to 70, for instance. Yeah, of course, it depends of the initial surface. Maybe there will be some error, some missing parts. So you have, of course, to explore. It's really an application to explore, to reinvent the way to create, to experiment the shape.
That's great. So a little bit like we said earlier, push the boundaries as what's possible using the power of the platform on the cloud.
Yes.
I know, Peter, you and I played with this in preparation of this session today.
Yeah.
And it really happens. When you were choosing the many holes on the shape, if we calculated it immediately, it took
go stupid amount. Yeah.
Yeah, we did, which we did. Basically,
yeah.
had a little bit of fun about that.
Just let me show you just for the final step. So with this type of shape, what we've done in terms of rendering, so really quickly, thanks to live rendering, Catia live rendering capabilities, the final result on this small product.
Wow. I know we showed this to a couple of colleagues and it says, where can I get it? And basically, at the end of the show, I think we are going to offer the model as a download. So if you want to have it, 3D print it yourself, or maybe more if you like, go on the marketplace and see if you can have a bigger series. You can do that for sure. Peter, you want to wrap this up a little bit on the design on the cloud? A couple of comments before we take the questions.
Yeah, I think it's if you've got fears about moving from V5 running file-based or in a smart team or an old Innova environment,
yes.
Don't be scared about moving to 3DEXPERIENCE. For me, the productivity was there in the tool. The tools are very rich, I find, in the way that Catia builds things.
Was it a big change in the way you worked from V5 to V6?
No. So we can use the same methodology and the same logic, so we can build things the same way.
Yeah.
But the way that we interact with the tool, the way that we install it, the way we work with it, it's a pleasure to use. And as I say, I think the tools that the surfaces, the quality that we can build is very, very high quality.
All right. So,
can I just show you the final result?
Yes, we want to see it.
We want to see the final result. Show us.
The money shot.
Here it is.
So yes, here is the 3D print, the final 3D print. So we just printed it yesterday.
This morning or yesterday?
I saw it this morning before.
Yeah, this morning. Yeah. Early in the morning, that was available. Yeah. So we just launched the 3D print operation last night, and we had it this morning.
It's beautiful.
You just realize the complexity of the shape and the accuracy. So it's quite nice. Yeah. For designers, it's really amazing. It's really a new way to work and to create. Yeah.
And that's really the power, I think, the platform on the cloud. You can do this collaboratively.
Ubiquitous and marketplace. You can use it on the marketplace.
Exactly.
I'm interested.
So you want to have some questions. So I'll just read a question from Catherine. Hi everyone, thank you all for a great presentation. I have a question. Is there a limit in the number of concurrent users? If I have a large team in different countries, is the 3DEXPERIENCE platform on the cloud a solution for me?
Well, in terms of scale, yes, definitely.
That's the whole point.
There are no limit in scale, on numbers. We did this with a few members, but there are no limit.
And we have customers today, large clients, to have a lot of users around the world.
Implement, I think there are some installed base of 20,000 users. No, it's.
So I hope, Catherine, this replied to your question. The other one I will pick. Let me see. There's so many questions. Let's see here. Can I define workflows between designers regarding the maturity of the design to promote a part, for example? That's a question from Paolo.
So basically, if I get the question right, the way that we worked within designers, we would have particular revisions. So you can have numbers or you can have letters, it's up to you. And from a design perspective, what we wanted to do is we wanted to capture the steps of the design. Okay. So when we release for simulation, when we release for tooling, for renders, we can basically capture that by creating a new revision. So that's quite simple to do on the parts. And there is no check-in, no check-in out. It's just, it's live, we can make...
I don't know if it's also the answer for this question, but the great value of this platform is you capture anything, anytime, at any step. So you want to go back, you have a remorse, or you say, oh, I missed that avenue, I may change my mind and maybe try something different variant. Go back, test. So the capitalization of your design process is a great value for anyone, actually, for both designers and engineers.
All right. I've got a question from Paul in the USA. Which license is used to develop the Voronoi pattern?
The Voronoi pattern.
It's XGen.
XGen, that's the name?
It's Catia, generative design, yes.
Catia, generative design.
Okay, when it's X, it's definitely on the cloud, it's on the browser, you
It's on
don't
the
need
cloud.
anything. Then you have also more complex solution, but yes.
Okay, let me
Good
see.
question.
But you need to get on the platform
Yeah,
and
yeah.
get the apps.
Get a passport.
Get a passport and
board.
get the apps. Get on board. Yes.
So I'll just take another one from I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, Abhishek. How to launch Catia from the client if no installation is on the client? So that's basically if you're on the cloud, you don't have an installation on the client. You just launch it. It's web-based, right?
Yeah, totally.
On the
It's web.
It's a web browser. You just need a web browser. You have
Yeah.
the link and you launch the platform.
So you just launch it like from the browser. So you don't.
I guess.
I think there may be another
Yeah.
question behind the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still need to install.
You have a local installation on your local hardware for the physical apps.
For the first time. Yeah.
And basically, you launch it from I obviously didn't show that through
That's a browser.
through the apps and the roles from your browser, and then you literally launch into 3DEXPERIENCE, which then connects up to the cloud.
But
Now,
yeah.
maybe the question is if you are in a client that is controlling what you get access or not access, this is a negotiation to get access on the web. Because I think in some design department, designers don't have access to the
There are
web.
some limitations.
So the limitation to the web is the only, issues.
Yes. This is sort of-
But it's on the web.
Okay. One which might be a little bit more technical. So what if the designer, and that's a question from Kunal, what if the designer is working on the CAD? So simultaneously, can that CAD be used in MAE EAW? I'm not sure what that is.
What is it?
Okay, so we'll get back to you, Kunal, later on that
Yes.
questions. I don't know exactly. We'll have to
What is
investigate
the acronym?
MAE. So I know we have a lot of trigrams at Dassault Systèmes, but this one I don't
Yeah.
recognize.
Yeah.
Three.
Okay, anyway, so we've got 3 minutes left. Let's see if I can get another question here. If you have any questions, just post them. Otherwise, so basically it's time for almost a wrap up for this session. I hope this was interesting in the way you could see the cloud and the power of the cloud. You could see a live demo performed by Peter that was actually live.
It was a bit basic, but live.
It was, well, I think the model size doesn't make a difference. I think if it's live and on the cloud, it works just like the way it does for you now. There's not going to be any difference. We also talked about design trends and the 6 keywords. I'm going to repeat them now.
Complexity, sustainability, ubiquity, generativity,
Generativity.
and
Inclusivity, which are the 2 main ones for us. Peter, any final words from your end?
I think for me, it's been a great opportunity to sit here with both of you today, and it was inspirational listening to Anne. I think that's really good. I also enjoyed looking, going back into the studio for a bit. Moved into a more of a brand sales role. So I've either gone to the dark side or seen the light. I mean, take it how you take it. But for me, it's about reinventing yourselves, and I think as well getting designers to really get on board. And there's lots of other tools that we can showcase in the future where I believe designers can really get into it and really love the stuff we do.
I am a designer, and I always heard that Catia, wow, that's very nice, but it's unacceptable. It's inaccessible. I want it, but
It's a mechanical guy's tool. It's not
well,
a design
and
tool.
it's not my world. It's my world of everyday design. What this 3DEXPERIENCE platform on the cloud is allow you to actually get Catia as easy as most of the tools that currently designers are using, because they are accessible. So I think this is really what I would like to convey. It's a great access to a tool that is very premium, that never had a chance to be in the hand of any designers.
Okay. All right. So we're getting to the end of this live stream. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Jonathan and Sebastian.
Thank you, Sebastian and John.
And I think we better thank the team that helped us put this all together as well.
Yes,
So
that's right.
that's a
That's
real
right.
big thank for them.
So the
And I
team,
hope now
Maya and
this-
the marketing team from Dassault Systèmes to put this together. You've done a wonderful job. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And that concludes basically the live stream for this session.
You don't have any.
And thank
you
the
don't think?
viewers.
Oh, the
thank
gift.
everyone that's
Hey.
come
Thank
along
the viewers, of course.
to listen to us for 1 hour.
Yeah.
It's
Listen
1
to
hour
us
you're
for
never going to get back.
If you have more questions, you can post them on the web.
Yeah.
You got the stream on, I'm not sure if it's this side
We'll
or this
even
side.
get the Catia data as well. So there'll be a 3D XML for those that know Catia. You can bring it in and have a play with some of my modelling and have a see what you think.
And
Really.
download and play.
See how powerful it
And
is.
also the video. Also
And the video,
And the
yeah,
video,
don't
of
forget
course.
the video.
And ask us questions. We're here
Yeah, sure.
to answer.
Wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Bye.